Life east of Eden. Long ago, after the first family walked out of the garden called Eden, their lives found a new rhythm. East of that special place, the world spread wide, open to them in gentle ways. The sun, warm and steady, reached over hills and valleys. The breeze whispered softly through trees not yet forgotten. This was where Cain made his home. Cain, whose hands had known both the soil and sorrow, wandered until he came to a quiet land. It was peaceful here. Soft grass underfoot, small streams flowing like silver threads through the earth. Cain settled down and built a city. It was not a grand city with tall walls, but a humble place where people could live and share their stories. The Bible tells us Cain named the city after his son. His son's name was Enoch. Though details are few, we can imagine the days passing gently, with the sounds of children playing and the quiet hum of animals nearby. Life unfolded slowly, like the turning of a well-loved book's pages. In this calm place, families grew. The names of Cain's descendants were recorded. One was Jabal, who gave rise to those who live in tents and keep livestock. Another was Jubal, who taught the world how to make music with harps and pipes. And Tubal-Cain was skilled with tools made of bronze and iron, shaping the earth's offerings into useful things. Each name tells a soft story of learning and living. We don't know all the exact moments, but the small notes hint at human creativity and care in these days east of Eden. It wasn't just their work that mattered. Life had other rhythms too. Quiet talks at dusk, morning lights spilling over hills, the gentle sharing of meals. The Bible speaks gently here, not rushing, but letting us feel the unfolding of those early years. As the seasons moved on, the family grew and spread. There was a woman named Ada and another named Zillah, both bearing children. Their lives, like those before them, blended hope and challenge. It is uncertain what all their days looked like. What we can trust is that life continued, with its mix of joy, learning, and sometimes sorrow. In this quiet corner of the world east of Eden, people learned to name the things around them. Names held power. They carried memories, hopes, and sometimes warnings. Naming was a way to touch the earth and make it feel a little closer, a little more like home. The story turns gently to another family, linked to Cain but separate. It is said that Cain had a brother, Seth, whose family also grew and stretched out across the land. Seth's line brought people who longed for something more, a softer, more peaceful path perhaps, a way to listen closely to the mysteries of life. Seth's children and grandchildren lived in a different place, but near enough that their stories mingled. Among them was a man called Enoch. People began to call on the name of the Lord, in quiet prayer or soft song. It's a tender moment, this wanting to reach beyond what they could see, looking for comfort or guidance. Sometimes the text moves quietly and leaves us with a gentle question. What was it like to call on God in those days? Was it a whispered word, a song sung early in the morning, a thought wrapped in the softness of dusk? We do not know. Perhaps it was all these things and more. The world was wide and mysterious. Life east of Eden was full of discovery, sometimes shadowed by regret, sometimes lit by simple joys. It was a place where people planted seeds and watched them grow, where they listened to the wind and told stories about the stars. The Bible tells us Cain was marked after a sad and difficult moment, a sign to keep him safe as he walked this new land. No one knows exactly what that mark was. Some say it might have been a sign on his skin, others a symbol only known to him. Whatever it was, it stayed with him, a quiet reminder of what had passed and what was still to come. As time moved slowly, stories grew around these first families. Some passed down warnings of hard lessons learned, others passed down songs of hope. Life carried on like a soft melody played on an old harp. We also hear of people who lived long lives, hundreds of years even. It is hard to imagine such a span of time now. Maybe the way they measured years was different, or their days blended in ways we cannot fully understand. What matters is that these long lives gave space for many stories to unfold, stories of laughter, of tears, of learning. Among these early persons was Methuselah, who is said to have lived the longest. His life stretched over many seasons, a quiet witness to the changing world. And so the generations came and went. They moved through lands filled with rivers and mountains, through days bright with sun and nights filled with stars. At one point, a family grew so large and spread so far that the language they spoke began to change. The Bible hints at a moment when many people tried to build a tall tower reaching to the heavens, a place where they could all be close together, safe, and known. But here the story becomes uncertain and gentle again. It tells us that language became mixed, that people were scattered across the earth. We do not rush this part. The tale asks us to imagine a peaceful scattering, each group finding a new home, carrying old stories and learning new ones. Life continued all around the earth, soft and unfolding like petals in the morning light. Yet throughout all these gentle turns and quiet shifts, the people east of Eden kept growing, families multiplied, songs were sung, tools crafted, and the earth cared for in new ways. Even now we can almost hear the hum of those early days, the soft footsteps on dust, the crackle of fire in a small hearth, the tender touch of a hand offering comfort. This is life east of Eden, slow, gentle, full of beginnings and soft endings, like the closing of a day's light, promising rest and a new morning. We pause here, the story unfolding gently before us, waiting to reveal what comes next in this quiet, tender world. The land east of Eden stretched out beneath broad skies, vast and patient. Here seasons whispered their quiet cycles to those who listened, teaching subtle rhythms of growth, rest, and renewal. Morning mist cloaked the earth in silver, dissolving slowly as the sun climbed higher, warming soft soil and gentle streams. Children's laughter rose among the trees, light and clear as birdsong. Their small hands molded clay, gathered sweet berries, and learned by watching how the elders moved through the world, tilling earth, mending tools, singing under stars. Each day brought discovery, folded within the tender care of family and kin. With time, the people came to understand the language of the land itself. They named the flowing rivers, the flowering shrubs, the animals that roamed the open plains. These names were softer than the wind, but filled with meaning. They wove threads between sky and soil, between heart and home. Among them lived those who remembered Seth's quiet footsteps. Stories passed from mother to child, from elder to youth, gentle like the touch of a soft breeze. They spoke of whispered prayers first lifted in the twilight, of humble songs carried on the breath. The Lord's name lingered lightly, a presence seen in the moon's pale glow and heard in the rustling leaves. The art of naming was a sacred act. It was as if giving a name breathed spirit into all things, a calm invitation to know and be known. To name the tree was to feel its strength. To name the star was to hold a piece of night's quiet mystery in one's heart. The people found their voices touching all around them, weaving a tapestry of connection and care. Cain's mark remained a silent guardian, its nature as elusive as morning fog. No one knew how it shone or felt, only that it kept him safe as he walked paths away from the garden of his birth. With every step, the earth received his shadow and light, holding the mark's secret in its unfolding wilds. Stories of the mark were told softly, with measured words and gentle reverence. Some thought of it as a blessing hidden within a burden. Others saw it as a reminder that even a life shadowed by past mistakes could find protection, even grace. The land east of Eden understood complexity, holding both morning dew and evening shade, without hurry or judgment. Families grew and branched like sturdy oaks. They planted seeds, learned to hold fire steady, and crafted tools that made daily life tender and true. Crafting came with quiet pride, the careful shaping of stone, the weaving of fibers, the coaxing of flame to cook humble meals beneath a sky full of stars. With the unfolding years, the people grew closer to the earth's secrets. They learned which plants held healing, which rivers whispered safe passage, which winds carried the scent of home. In these lessons, patience was found, and alongside it, a humble gratitude. Among them, elders kept memory alive. These were sages not of grand power, but of quiet insight. With soft eyes and slow hands, they retold the old stories, of creation's gentle dance, of brothers walking different paths, of prayers sung beneath open heavens. Their voices invited listening, an offering of time and attention as precious as any treasure. Methuselah lived through many seasons, a living bridge between past and present. His long years gathered wisdom like fallen leaves, turning slowly into rich soil, where new growth could take root. He spoke little, but when he did, his words bent like soft branches in the wind, full of care and careful thought. The tale of the tower rose like a distant echo, a reminder that even great endeavors could be met with gentle consequence. When languages tangled like vines, and voices could no longer weave shared meaning, the scattering of peoples began, a spreading of life seeds into new soils, new beginnings. Yet east of Eden, the scattering's breeze was soft, not fierce. People moved with hopeful steps, carrying their names, their stories, their prayers folded closely like hand-woven cloth. They found quiet spaces, fertile ground, and slowly grew roots in new lands. Among the quiet moments were the simple gifts, a hand resting in another's, the pull of warm bread, breaking at dusk, the flicker of firelight dancing on familiar walls. In these, the pulse of life throbbed softly. The earth's song was delicate and steady, a lullaby for the souls who tended it. No loud declarations, no desperate yearning, only the slow unfolding of days, gentle as the turn of a leaf in a calm breeze. Seeds blossomed unseen beneath the soil, and so did trust between neighbors, between generations. This was a life carved in kindness, in patience, in the tender weaving of time. Animals roamed nearby, companions in the unspoken conversation of the wild. Birds traced invisible stitches across the sky. Soft feet pressed into dust and grass. The people and the earth moved together, an ancient dance without end, a silent promise held in every new morning. Prayer arose quietly, carried in breath and glance, in the lifting of hands before sleep, in the naming of stars and rivers and fears. This was a reaching that asked no answer but offered trust. It was a song whose words were woven from the spaces between heartbeats. Evening brought a hush like a blanket, a deepening quiet that wrapped the land in soft shadow. Fires glowed like small suns, gathering faces into gentle warmth. Stories were shared in low voices, spun threads of memory and hope, guiding young ones toward dreams where the past met the future. The cycle of life paused in these moments, a deep breath taken before the turning of the page. Time felt endless and present all at once, a wave folding back to shore to rise again. The earth and its people held this balance, sacred and simple. Thus, life east of Eden flowed onward, a steady river beneath wide skies, carrying names, prayers, and stories on its gentle currents, toward all that was yet to come. A quiet air of reverence accompanied the turning of each season. The people east of Eden learned to read the subtle signals beneath skies and soil. When the rains returned softly, they opened their arms wide to welcome the earth's slow but certain rebirth. Shoots reached skyward, tender and green, whispers of promise after the rest and stillness of the dry months. In these times, the rhythm of life became a healer in itself. The patience to wait for growth mirrored the patience they cultivated within. The children watched the furrows in the ground, as if they could see the seeds sleeping, breathing beneath the dark. They learned to mimic the steady gestures of the tender hands that mended tools and tended fires. The mark carried silently by many was a subtle thread woven into the fabric of their days. It need not be spoken aloud to be felt. A quiet reminder, a touchstone of protection, paired with ancient grace. In its presence, they walked gently, as though the earth beneath their feet remembered the cost of a single misstep. As the families grew, so did the connections beyond the immediate. Neighbors shared the fruits of their labor, swapping stories along with sweet berries and woven mats. Laughter rippled through the air like sunlight spilling over the hills. Within the quiet, there was a deep-seated understanding that they were part of something larger, a living, breathing circle. Evenings continued to gather them together, the soft glow of firelight like a protective shield against the vast, unknown dark. Here, elders spoke slowly, their voices steady and warm. They told stories not simply to entertain, but to root each listener firmly within the landscape of memory and hope. Tales of first humble fires, of the slow crafting of the first arrowheads, of the animals who had once been companions and now lived alongside in sacred mutual respect. Methuselah, now aged but steady, sat often at the center of such gatherings. His gaze was calm, reflecting the flickering light as he spoke not with haste, but with the measured weight of someone who held the past tenderly, offering it like a well-worn cloak to those who would follow. His words were not commands, but invitations, to remember, to question, to feel deeply. The children, their faces aglow with fascination and innocence, heard of distant places and times shaped by confusion, yet softened here by understanding. East of Eden, they learned, was a place where fractured tongues had slowly found gentle rhythms again, a place where the scattering of peoples was less a breaking and more a blooming into new beginnings. The land itself held stories beneath its soil, The rivers, winding and ancient, whispered of journeys long before the present breath. The currents carried not just water, but knowledge passed from stone to stone, telling of safe crossings and hidden pools where fish gathered in abundance. The people learned to listen, their hands mirroring the water's flow as they cupped and poured, learning the sacred balance of taking and giving back. The animals, too, spoke in their silent ways. Tracks in soft mud told of passage and presence. The rustle in the brush signaled a cautious observer, a deer, a fox, a small bird alighting briefly before taking flight. These were not mere creatures, but partners in a dance older than memory. Each step measured and watched with the respect of one who knows the fragility of harmony. Prayer remained a quiet breath, a sacred gesture made not just in solemn moments, but woven into the fabric of daily life. It was the raising of eyes to stars emerging with gentle certainty, the naming of the wind's direction, the breathing in of earth's deep scent after rain. Words were fewer here. Reverence lay in listening and feeling, in the shared silence that spoke as powerfully as any spoken wish. With the steady passing of days, time shaped itself neither harshly nor hurriedly. It became something fluid, like a river both vast and immediate, carrying them forward while holding fast to each moment's quiet significance. Birth, growth, rest, and renewal, each phase cradled softly, embraced with the hands and hearts of the community. In those moments when night drew close, a familiar peace settled like a soft blanket. The sky, vast and star-strewn, seemed infinite yet intimate, a sacred vault under which life moved tenderly. Conversations hushed to whispers, the flickering firelight casting shadows that danced gently upon the faces gathered around. Trust grew slowly here. It was not merely the absence of fear, but the presence of openness. The people learned to show their true selves through gestures and glances, a shared smile, a helping hand, a gentle touch to a weary shoulder. Each act was a thread reinforcing the delicate fabric of belonging. The gardens, now well tended and fruitful, were living affirmations of care. Leaves shimmering with morning dew, fruit ripening under the sun's steady gaze, all spoke to the quiet artistry of nurturing. Here was a lesson not only in survival but in flourishing, how giving oneself to the earth could yield a harvest of more than food, but also hope and connection. Stories of the past were never distant echoes but active threads woven through each new day. They spoke of beginnings marked by both pain and possibility, tales that held no blame but profound awareness. The people learned that the past was a teacher, not a tyrant, its lessons held gently and passed forward like sacred fire. In the soft unfolding of years, the mark became less a burden felt and more a part of the living spirit. It was a sign not just of what had been, but of what always could be, the gentle unfolding of grace within impermanence. The people carried it quietly, a quiet chorus of promise humming beneath laughter and toil alike. Even as the generations turned, the ground beneath their feet remained steady, a fertile cradle for hopes yet dreamed. The world westward might have spun with confusion and shadow, but here east of Eden, life unfolded as a tender, enduring dance, an endless weaving of breath and earth, story and silence, and so the people lived, each day a soft page in an ever-unfolding book. Their lives, modest yet profound, echoed with the unspoken prayer that had carried them gently through the centuries, a prayer of patience, of kindness, and of unwavering trust in the slow, sacred weaving of time. In the calm stretches of morning, the land itself seemed to breathe softly, awakening beneath the tender touch of dawn's light. Here east of Eden, the world was not hurried or restless. It unfolded like a slow melody, inviting each soul to find its own rhythm within the larger harmony. The people moved with gentle purpose, their steps falling lightly upon the soft earth, mindful of its sacredness. Their hands, calloused from labor yet tender with care, touched the soil as if greeting an old friend. There was no rush, no striving to dominate or extract beyond need, but a shared understanding that the earth's gifts were a trust handed down through the ages. In this place, healing was not merely physical, but woven into the very air. Wounds of the body, of the heart, and of the spirit found solace in the quiet presence of others. A touch on a shoulder, a glance filled with recognition, a shared silence beside a gentle flame, all spoke of support without demand or hurry. The gardens, quietly bursting with life, mirrored this reverence. Each seed planted was a prayer, each sprout a promise kept. The tendrils of climbing beams reached upward as though yearning for the sun's embrace, and the radiant petals of wildflowers nodded in time with the breeze. Care and patience were the language spoken here, a tender covenant between the hands and the earth. Water, ever present, wove through the landscape as a gentle thread of memory and meaning. The river's murmur held stories older than stones, tales carried on its current like whispered secrets. Children learned to listen to its voice, recognizing the pulse of balance it kept, giving, receiving, and flowing onwards in a constant, unbroken circle. Through long days, prayer was a quiet companion rather than a loud call. It seeped into the moments between actions, the breath drawn deep before tending a plant, the pause to notice the flutter of a bird taking flight, the stillness held when meeting another's eyes. It was less about asking and more about remembering, the sacredness shared beneath visible and invisible skies. Time here did not march with demands or deadlines, but circled gently like the turning of seasons. There was honor in each phase, the bud swelling, the bloom fading, the leaf falling, reminding all who watched that endings were invitations for beginnings. The people held this cycle close, surrendering to its wisdom, rather than striving against its flow. Evening gatherings tended to shimmer with quiet warmth. Grouped around fires whose smoke rose upward in slow spirals, stories were told not to entertain but to connect, to carry lessons across generations and to cradle the collective memory. Voices were soft, knowing that the deepest truths often sound better in whispers. Trust, fragile as spring blossoms yet resolute as roots in earth, grew here through gestures small and steady, a basket left at a neighbor's doorstep, a hand held in moments of uncertainty, a shared meal prepared without fanfare. These were the quiet bricks out of which a community constructed its shelter of belonging. The people moved with humility, aware that their lives were threads in a tapestry far greater than themselves. They carried the mark, not as a weight, but as a badge of learning and grace. A radiant sign that in the act of living, they participated in a vast and ancient dance. It was a dance where every misstep was met with forgiveness, every stumble held the seed of new direction. And so the days stretched, blending softly one into the next, a gentle rhythm of being rather than doing. Whatever storms brewed beyond the horizons of this place could not penetrate its calm heart. Here, east of Eden, breath was measured, earth was cherished, story was honored, and silence was a space held sacred. In this steady unfolding, faith was not demand or dogma, but a quiet knowing, a trust in the deeper currents guiding the world beneath and within. Faith blossomed not in loud declarations, but in the patient tending of gardens, in the slow healing of hearts, and in the respectful listening to every whisper of life. As the stars took their watch each night, the community gathered once more beneath the vast, dark cloak of sky. The world seemed to hush in reverence, and in that hushed space, connection deepened. Hands reached out not in grasping, but in gentle touch. Voices softened into harmony. Hearts aligned with the eternal pulse. Here was a life shaped by kindness, woven by patience, and sustained by faith, a life undisturbed by the chaos beyond, yet quietly uniting all who dwelled within its gentle embrace. The sacred unfolding of time continued, slow and sure, a river of grace moving steadily toward horizons both known and unknowable. And in this enduring rhythm, the story east of Eden whispered on, a sacred lullaby for all who would listen. The next morning arrived with a pale light that poured softly through wide leaves and across the meadows, brushing the edges of petals still wet with dew. In the slow unfolding of dawn, the community stirred with quiet movements, as if their hearts beat in step with the gentle shifts of the waking world. There was no hurry here, no sharp calls to action. Instead, a shared rhythm, like the steady pulse of the river that curved through the land, guiding them without force. Each person tended their gardens, kneeling in the earth with hands that knew the stories of seed and root. These acts were prayers too, gentle whispers sown not into words but into life itself. A young woman, her fingers tracing the curved stem of a budding flower, paused to close her eyes. She breathed in the scent of soil and leaf, letting gratitude settle deep into her bones. To her, the garden was more than sustenance. It was a gathering place for hope and memory, an unspoken promise that life continued, even through seasons of quiet struggle. Near the river, an old man knelt on smooth stones, cupping water in his palms, letting it slip through fingers before dipping again. He watched the surface ripple, catching the shifting light, and saw in it the countless faces and moments that had passed this way. The river, he knew, held the essence of time, never lost, only flowing, carrying fragments of the past into the ever-present moment. In this understanding, there was no fear of forgetting, only a sacred trust and remembrance that healed rather than burdened. Children played beneath the forgiving shade of wide branches, their laughter a delicate thread weaving through the steady hum of the village. Their joy was not loud or restless, but a blend of gentle discovery and patient wonder. Elders, seated nearby, exchanged looks with quiet smiles, passing down lessons in silence and presence, like a gift cradled carefully in their hands. As midday unfolded, the sun moved in its ordained path, casting shifting patterns upon the village. Shadows lengthened and shortened in concert with the heartbeat of the land. Meals were shared under open skies, not rushed, but lingering moments where nourishment fed both body and spirit. There was no clamor, only the conversation of shared being, the way a breeze carries a scent or a leaf floats upon the water, unnoticed yet deeply known. Even in tasks that might seem ordinary, mending clothes, preparing tools, weaving baskets, there was an embedded reverence. Each gesture was slow and intentional, woven with mindfulness. The people honored their work as co-creators in the ongoing dance of survival and flourishing. They understood humility not as submission, but as an openness to learn from each breath, each fallen leaf, each shifting season. When the afternoon waned, a gathering began at the heart of the village. Smoke rose in soft spirals from a central fire, its warmth a tether linking generations. The stories told here were not grand tales of conquest or sorrow, but gentle reflections, a recital of the simplest truths. A voice, steady and low, spoke of stars seen in distant skies, of the steady turning of earth beneath their feet, of kindness shown in moments too small to mark on any map. These stories, whispered beneath the vastness of the night, were edges of a shared tapestry, a cloth stronger for all its careful threads. They bore no harsh judgments, no blame. They were invitations to remember the ways they had learned to endure and to thrive. Every voice added a thread, fragile yet firm, creating a web of belonging that linked the past to the present and stretched toward an unknowable but trusted future. Later, as shadows deepened into night, people returned to their homes with the quiet confidence of those who know they are seen and held by a greater whole. Their steps were steady, grounded in the earth and in the unspoken bond shared among them. Above, stars glimmered soft and distant, their light a reminder of the vastness beyond and the intimacy within. In this place east of Eden, faith was not declared with loud words or rigid creeds. It was a living pulse, a gentle current flowing beneath all things, binding individuals into a community of trust. It was a faith that welcomed doubt and celebration alike, held softly in the hands of care and humility. They believed not because they could prove, but because they had seen with quiet eyes the unfolding grace of ordinary days. A slow breath passed through the village, a collective sigh that spoke of peace forged not by escaping hardship, but by meeting it with steady hearts. The mark they carried was not a brand or a burden, but a testament to survival and grace. It was the fingerprint of life lived attentively, a signature of belonging to the earth and to each other. And so, under the same stars that watched the first dreams and the last waking moments, the community lived on, steady, patient, and unhurried. Their story was written not in pages, but in the turning of seasons, in the growth of gardens, in the passage of the river, and in the gentle unfolding of kindness that transformed every moment into a quiet prayer. With each dawn, they greeted the world again, rooted deep in the soil of this sacred place, carrying forward a legacy of enduring grace, a life east of Eden, perpetual and serene. The dawn comes soft and slow, lifting the night's cool veil with a quiet breath. Light seeps through branches, delicate as woven threads, painting the land in hues of green and gold. The village stirs, not with urgency but with a gentle unfolding, as if waking from a dream that lingers on the edge of awareness. Fingers of sunlight touch the roofs, the earth, the faces that greet the morning with open eyes and steady hearts. The air holds a familiar scent, the rich earth mingled with faint whispers of wildflowers, the same as it has been for countless seasons. It carries promise and familiarity at once. Children emerge from their resting places, their laughter hushed like a breeze among leaves, cautious not to disturb the reverence of the new day. They move with the softness of petals, discovering again the quiet wonders awakened by dawn, the dew clinging to a spider's web, the trembling dance of a fluttering leaf, the distant song of a waking bird. They gather in small circles under spreading branches, voices low and warm as the sun's first rays. Hands reach for smooth stones, twisted roots, and curious twigs, tokens of the earth's narrative told without words. Their fingers trace these stories in silent conversation, learning that the smallest details hold profound truths. Elders take their places closer to the village's heart, where mossy stones form a gentle ring. Their eyes, reflecting both the light and the years, rest upon the children, not as teachers seeking to fill empty vessels, but as guardians who simply bear witness. In the stillness between breaths, they pass on understanding carried by the breeze, transmitted through the very act of presence. Mothers and fathers begin to move with purpose that is unhurried, filling pots with water drawn fresh from the well. Their actions flow smoothly, embodying the rhythm of life itself. Hands seasoned by time and toil work alongside younger ones, creating a quiet harmony that reverberates softly through the village. The aroma of prepared grains and roasted roots mingles, inviting all to come together as the sun climbs higher. A long table stretches beneath the open sky, a simple canvas made whole by the sharing of food. Baskets pass, laughter brews in gentle bursts, and stories rise like steam from warm dishes. Words speak of small joys, of the first apple found ready on a branch, of a new sprout at the garden's edge, of subtle kindnesses exchanged in moments unseen. A silence holds space between sentences, filled with reverence rather than absence. It is in this shared quiet that understanding deepens. The work of the day unfolds with a calm certainty. Some gather fibers, pulling them slowly, mindfully, as they prepare them for weaving. Others sit together, hands nimble and patient, mending cloth torn by seasons past. Every stitch, every knot, carries intention, not haste or perfection, but a steady care that honors the threads connecting them. Amid these tasks, fresh eyes meet weathered ones, and smiles pass unnoticed, yet acknowledged. There is a communion in this, an unspoken agreement that survival is woven through mutual support and gentle devotion. Each act, no matter how small, folds into the living tapestry of the village. As the afternoon's light softens, children are led outside the village bounds along a familiar path. They walk in pairs, step by step, the earth each footfall presses a reminder of belonging. Here, among wildflowers and stones warmed by the sun, stories take flight once more, this time spoken by the wind itself. An elder stops by a knotted oak, tracing the bark with tender fingers. Stories spill forth, not of conquest or grand feats, but of simple endurance. The tree's steady growth, the season's dance, the animals that call it home. The children listen closely, senses attuned to the invisible threads that bind life to life. Time laces itself with care as shadows stretch long. When the sun dips towards rest, the village gathers once again in the fading glow. Fires are stoked gently, their warmth enclosing the circle like an embrace. Faces glow softly, framed by flames that flicker with quiet life. Stories shift and deepen as night darkens. Tales emerge, not grand legends but quiet histories of endurance, moments when hope was a whispered promise between weary souls. These are stories lived rather than told, carried in the breath of the fire, in the steady pulses of joined hands. There is no rush to conclude, no demand for resolution. Instead, the narratives wander slowly, circling back to beginnings, reflecting light like the gentle ripple of a stream. Silence sometimes follows, a sacred room where everyone's spirit can find space. The youngest among them, eyelids heavy but fully present, drift towards sleep, cradled in arms that rock like the earth itself, steady and sure. Elders watch over them, their vigil a quiet testament to the enduring bond between generations. When the fire's glow becomes ash-gray, the village disperses with calm certainty. Paths home are lit by the soft glow of stars that have watched over their ancestors as well. Each step is grounded, steady, full of the quiet confidence that comes from belonging to a place and people woven together by care. In the sanctuary of homes, the night deepens, breath slows, muscles relax, and dreams carry fragments of the day's tender moments. The space between waking and sleeping is filled with gratitude, quiet and full, like the earth after rain. The village rests but is never still, for life pulses beneath the surface, in the steady turn of seasons, the rhythm of hearts, and the slow, unending weaving of a shared story. Here, east of Eden, the cycle continues anew with each dawn, each breath, each touch. Underneath this sacred sky, peace is not a distant star, but a constant companion. It is found in the turning of leaves, the murmur of streams, the soft laughter of children discovered in the morning light. It is held in the enduring grace of those who live with steady hands and open hearts. And as the night finally yields to day once more, the village breathes deeply, ready to embrace another chapter of this timeless story, one woven not only in words but in the gentle sacred acts of love and living. As dawn breathes softly over the village, the first light draws tender lines across the hills. The air is cool and carries a faint murmur, the rustle of leaves, a slow drip of morning dew, the gentle flutter of wings. Each sound is a quiet announcement of a new day, arriving not with urgency, but with a steady, welcoming rhythm. Villagers rise with the light, moving with care and intention. There is no rush here, only the knowing flow of tasks shaped by respect for time and space. Hands, once rough and strong, now move with a practiced delicacy, folding cloth, arranging firewood, preparing small meals from the garden's gifts. Each gesture is an offering, simple yet holy enough. Outside, the fields show new growth. Tender shoots of grain push upward through the earth, unbroken in their resolve to reach the sun. Near the edges of the village, the fruit trees stretch quiet limbs toward the sky, their branches heavy with early blossoms, fragrant and soft. This annual renewal is a secret kept between the village and the land it tends, patient, unhurried, eternal. Throughout the morning, a soft hum of movement weaves through the paths. Each person contributes without expectation, connected by invisible threads of care. Some gather carefully bundled herbs chosen for their healing properties. Others mend worn baskets, weaving thin fibers between the sturdier strands, restoring them to strength. Children with wide eyes and eager hands accompany elders on gentle walks, learning the names of each plant, feeling the textures beneath their fingers, inhaling the stories that the soil whispers. Lunch comes without fanfare, simple bowls of broth, bread warmed by the fire, slices of fresh fruit passed quietly between neighbors. Eating together is not a pause or a distraction, but an extension of the day's tender rhythms. Conversation is measured, full of silences that hold space for thought and the gentle collectivity of presence. Afternoon light filters through the leaves, painting dappled patterns on the ground. Inside homes, the soft murmur of spinning wheels syncs with the occasional bird call outside, a shared cadence that soothes and centers. Stories, too, find their place here. They drift softly from lips weathered by seasons, stories of endurance, not the loud or grandiose kind, but those etched in every careful step taken, every moment of patient waiting, every act of kindness extended without fanfare. Children listen with quiet wonder, absorbing the lessons woven through these tales, learning that life east of Eden is not shaped by swift triumphs, but by slow, steady growth. They learn that silence holds sacred truths, and that reflection is a bridge that connects the world within with the world without. As the sun begins its slow descent, the village gathers once again around the fire's warmth. Flickering flames cast gentle shadows on faces marked by lines of laughter and work, vulnerability and strength. Here, beneath the wide-open sky streaked with crimson and gold, voices rise softly, not to dominate, but to weave together a mosaic of lived experience. The stories told at dusk carry a different hue, memories of love found and lost, of seasons turned with graceful acceptance, of dreams that stretched like vines, reaching for light even in the darkest soil. But always, these narratives are gentle, like a lullaby sung with a steady hand and a knowing heart. They remind everyone gathered that life's threads are intertwined, fragile yet resilient. Elders speak last, their tones like soft earth settling after rain. They remind all who listen that care is the steady heart of the village, that patience is a gift we give ourselves and each other. The youngest, nestled close, may not yet grasp all the words, but they feel the quiet strength that flows from these shared moments, a guiding light to carry them forward. Night deepens in measured silence. One by one, the gathered disperse under the canopy of stars, each step deliberate and calm. The paths are familiar, lined with stones warmed by decades of wandering feet. The village breathes as one, connected across time not by grand gestures, but by the gentle constancy of presence and care. In homes warmed by embers, doors close softly. The night carries not just rest, but a full grounding peace, a conscious gratitude for the day lived and the days to come. Dreams unfurl in the minds of the young and old alike, not rushed or scattered, but a slow dance of hope and memory moving hand in hand. Outside, the world turns quietly, seasons shifting as they always have. The rhythms of planting and harvest, birth and quiet endings, continue without need for haste or fanfare. Love in its gentle forms is the undercurrent that sustains this village. Love expressed in a mended garment, a shared meal, a story passed from hand to hand. This is life east of Eden, a place where the extraordinary is woven through the ordinary, where peace is not a distant goal, but a daily act of living fully in the present moment, where silence speaks as loudly as words, and where each breath is a reminder that we are part of a whole much greater than ourselves. In this place the cycle turns again, quiet, enduring, filled with the soft glow of belonging and the steady pulse of a life lovingly tended. Here each day begins and ends with a gentle breath, a whispered promise carried on the wind, that all is as it should be. Dawn unfolds gently, a soft murmur beneath the horizon's slow light. The village stirs not with urgency, but in understated movements, feet brushing dew-kissed grass. Whispered greetings, carried on the early breeze. Familiar faces awaken to another day, shaped in the quiet continuity so cherished here east of Eden. Paths to the well are traced with patience. The water's surface, still and reflective, mirrors the sky's pale awakening. Elders pause long enough to touch the coolness and breathe gratitude, then turn to observe children whose small hands cup the clear liquid. The simple gift of water, so constant, so vital, is never taken lightly. It is a shared blessing, a promise held between generations. The rhythms of morning sweep in without fanfare. Hands sweep across wooden tables, arranging seeds and tools with mindful care. There is a sacred quality in the preparation, each stone and seed marked by reverence, the planting of gardens more than mere cultivation, but an act of communion with the earth. Children watch, their wide eyes a quiet testament to learning deeply rooted in respect. Each seed planted is a story whispered into the soil. Patience is woven into every furrow, every careful drop of earth. The elders speak of the land's slow needs, how roots find their strength not in haste, but in steady tending. They describe the way leaves reach not just for sunlight, but for the gentle touch of rain, the steady hum of life unseen. The children's hands learn to trace these invisible threads, to feel the weight of growth beneath the surface. Around midday, the village gathers once more. The table is modest, a cloth woven from flax, bowls turned simply from cherry wood, bread baked with wild grains harvested by calloused hands. Conversation here is sparing. Words are wooden beads threaded deliberately, strung with pauses that allow silence to settle comfortably. The taste of food is sharp, unadorned. The ordinary is elevated in shared presence, a bite taken slowly, a shared glance across the table, the soft clinking of spoons against bowls. Laughter is rare but genuine, bubbles of softness against the steady hum of quiet joy. The meal honors an unspoken pact, to be together, fully, unhurried and focused. Afternoon wanes beneath a canopy of green and sky, spinning wheels hum in soft chorus, a gentle vibration that reaches deep into the marrow of calm. Birds sing their measured tunes, melodies carried lightly on the warm, steady air. The village bends into this seamless blend of sound and silence, each note a petal in a bloom of tranquility. Stories resume, spoken low, paced slowly. They do not shout, they do not dazzle with spectacle. Instead, their power lies in steadiness and warmth. Tales of endurance are told, how roots crack stone over years, how rivers carve canyons without haste. Kindness is embroidered through these narratives, kindness as a fortress of resilience. Listeners lean in, the soft creak of wood beneath them blending with the murmurs of the past. The children comprehend, not yet with words, but with a settling of spirit. They absorb the message. There is strength in patience. There is depth in silence. Their eyes follow the slow dance of shadows, the tender details of hands tracing ancient shapes, the shaping of lives not rushed, but nurtured with care. As dusk gathers, firelight spills its warm embrace over the circle. Flames flicker gently, a soft pulse in the dark. The elders take turns speaking softly, not commanding, but offering their voices like lanterns to guide the night. Stories are told, simple and profound, about love found and lost, about hope held in the tightest knots of difficulty, about resilience blooming in the smallest acts of grace. Each voice is a thread in the weave, blending memories and anticipation. The children sit close, feeling the warmth not only of the fire, but of belonging. Their breaths slow, their faces glow with the soft light of belonging. No story is rushed. Each word carries weight, sinking into hearts like dew. The night stretches like a wide, dark ocean. Elders remind again, always gently, of the care woven through daily life. Care for one another, for the land, for the invisible ties that bind all living things. Patience is named as a quiet cornerstone, and the strength born from it is a shared treasure, guarded quietly by the community. When the fire dies down, the departure is slow and unhurried. Lanterns bob softly, illuminating familiar paths that thread through shadowed trees. Feet tread with the softness of understanding, steps echoing a rhythm that breathes out, calm and deliberate. The village returns to its homes, each space a sanctuary of embers and stillness. Within these walls, gratitude nestles in the quiet corners. Warmth cradles the night as gentle breaths slow in sleep. Dreams drift not frantic or wild, but deep and filled with hope and tender memory. Morning will come again, and with it the repetition of simple acts made sacred by their constancy. Seasons turn in gentle cycles. Tender shoots grow to fullness. Ripened fruits hang low. New life whispers softly in the crook of branches, while others bow quietly to rest. These passages are not marked by celebration or sorrow, but by steady inclusion. Every ending folds into a beginning, each act a small offering of love and care. This life east of Eden moves not with fanfare, but with a measured grace. The extraordinary breathes within the ordinary, moments of stillness, threads of connection, the slow unfolding of presence. Belonging is found not in words or deeds alone, but in the subtle, enduring pulse that threads through all things. The daily cadence continues, a quiet, enduring cycle of peaceful acceptance, of gentle continuity. It is a life traced in soft footsteps, in hands held steady, in voices speaking low beneath the vast sky. It is a life where time stretches thin and thick, folding together moments seen and unseen, heard and felt. As night deepens once more, the village settles fully into silence. The stars awaken with an ancient light, threading their quiet brilliance through the canopy overhead. The earth breathes beneath the calm, the community breathing with it, held in the timeless rhythm of tending and care. And so it goes, this weaving of existence east of Eden, the gentle turning of days, and the patient heartbeats between them. Here every breath is a prayer, every step a testament to enduring love, every quiet moment a cradle of belonging. As dawn gently lays its fingertips upon the village, a soft chorus rises with it. Birds, the whisper of leaves, the slow stretching, reaching through branches. The earth itself seems to sigh, releasing night's coolness into the warming air. This daily rhythm, so familiar, so unforced, is a quiet hymn to presence. In the muted light, the gardeners move carefully among their seedlings, their hands tender as if handling something fragile, yet vital. Each sprout is acknowledged with a whisper of encouragement, a gentle brushing aside of the soil where the roots cradle life's promise. These acts, though simple, carry the weight of patience refined through seasons, generations upon generations attentive to growth. It is in these moments, the hushed exchanges between earth and hand, that the village's true heart beats. Life is not hurried here. It does not thunder or flash. It whispers slowly, softly, like a well-tended secret that only careful ears hear. A child lingers near a patch of wildflowers, tracing the curve of a petal with a fingertip. No rush, no need. The child's eyes absorb the delicate nuances, the slight fold, the muted gradient of color, the way a gentle breeze stirs the bloom's soul. Without words, the child learns what cannot be taken in a glance or grasped in a sigh, that beauty and time intertwine with a tender patience. Elsewhere, elders sit by the water's edge, their gazes steady on the ripple trails left by small fish skimming below the surface. The murmurs between them carry stories half-spoken, echoes of times when the land was shaped by steady hands and quiet will. Each tale unfolds slowly, without hurry or grand flourish, like the gentle ebb of waves craning over stones worn smooth by countless seasons. This way of being, unrushed, deliberate, is the village's lifetime secret. The pace hushes the clamor of external demands, smoothing rough edges until only what is essential remains. Here, rest is not emptiness but fullness, a space where new strength gathers as surely as water pools in the earth's hollows. Meals are shared with the same reverence for time. Food passes slowly between hands, accompanied by smiles that speak of gratitude and connection. Conversation is a soft hum rather than a crescendo, words chosen carefully, like seeds planted to take root steadily, rather than scatter and vanish. The firelight flickers gently, casting warm shadows that prattle laughter and sighs alike. As the day wanes, the village draws inward, gathering once again where shadows mingle with soft fire glow. The silence between stories is as important as their telling, a reminder of the presence that underpins all exchange. The community, held in a gentle weave of trust and care, is its own sanctuary. In this space, the night deepens without urgency. Stars slide slowly across vast skies, and each breath becomes a song of steady continuity. The earth wraps itself beneath blankets of quiet, inviting dreams to unfold gently. Above, the constellations tell their ancient sagas in soft glimmers, reminders that life moves in cycles beyond reckoning. The villagers know this truth as deeply as the pulse in their own veins, that belonging is not a destination but a journey, a gentle unfolding, an ongoing conversation between past and future, between self and the world. It is measured in moments of kindness, the soft language of endurance, the patient tending of the everyday. Soon, dawn will come again, and with it the slow unfolding of a new day. But here, at life's quiet core, time holds no hurry. It bends softly, like the branches of a tree that leans in only to lift once more toward the light. This is life east of Eden, not a rush toward something beyond, but a tender tending here now. A life where presence is sacred, and the smallest act of care is a seed planted deep in the soil of belonging. With this, the story draws close, not an end, but a gentle turning, like the earth itself breathing in soft cadence. The steady unfolding of being, the shared pulse of stories, hands and hearts. The night and day, the stars and soil, all entwined in silent promise that life perseveres, not through haste or thunder, but through quiet love and patience, held in the slow turning of time.